You're listening to From Stillness, an audiobook for a mind in need of quiet. You sit down with the best of intentions. It's time to finally crack on with that big task, the one that actually matters. And somehow, within minutes, you're watching a video titled, "How Shrimp See the World," wondering where your self-control went. Sound familiar? Distraction isn't just common, it's engineered. We live in a world designed to pull our attention in 100 directions before we've had our first coffee. Our phones buzz, notifications ping. And somewhere between checking one email and replying to one message, you fall headfirst into a digital rabbit hole. You convince yourself it's research. It's not. This is what you might call delusional optimism, the belief that you can drown in stimuli and still be productive. Add in chronic distraction, and you've got the perfect recipe for mental fog. It's not that you don't care about your goals, it's that your brain has been hijacked by quick dopamine hits disguised as curiosity. The tragedy? We mistake motion for progress. We tinker with task managers, color code calendars, and read endless articles about productivity, all while avoiding the actual work. And the longer we live in this loop, the more we normalize it. We become spectators of our own to-do lists, busy but never quite effective. Breaking free starts with admitting it, you're not lazy, you're distracted. And that's a very different problem. At some point, you hit a wall. Not just the metaphorical kind, although that's there too, but the glass door at Starbucks kind of wall. Life starts feeling like one of those browser tabs playing static in the background. You're busy all day, constantly doing something, yet somehow, nothing meaningful gets done. And here's the punchline, you're not actually tired, you're unfocused. This is a subtle but vital distinction. Fatigue we understand, you sleep, you recharge. But unfocus, it's sneakier. It drains your energy without ever feeling urgent. You tell yourself you're just not in the zone, so you keep scrolling, switching tasks, chasing tiny hits of productivity without committing to anything that moves the needle. The truth is, focus isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill, messy, learnable, and entirely trainable. Like any muscle, it grows with deliberate repetition. Ignore it, and the modern world will gladly train your brain for you, not for clarity or depth, but for constant interruption. When you realize this, that it's not energy you lack, but direction, things shift. You stop blaming your tiredness, and you start reclaiming your attention. And from that place, real change begins. Because the moment you stop telling yourself you're exhausted and start asking, what am I actually focusing on? That's when things get interesting. There was a time when I wore my multitasking like a badge of honor. Laptop open, phone buzzing, 5 tabs humming in the background, lo-fi beats playing while I replied to texts mid-sentence. I thought I was productive, like the CEO of a startup that only sells chaos. Spoiler alert, multitasking is a scam. What feels like efficiency is actually cognitive juggling. Your brain isn't doing several things at once, it's just switching between tasks rapidly, burning energy, and focus with every bounce. And the result? Shallow work, mounting stress, and the creeping sense that you're always behind no matter how hard you try. Instead of deep focus, you get scatterbrain. Instead of progress, you get digital noise. I once spent 3 hours organizing how I was going to be productive, building color-coded schedules, setting alarms, even laminating a to-do list, only to binge-watch a baking show and call it a well-earned break. This isn't time management. It's distraction with a spreadsheet. Here's the truth. Your brain isn't built for simultaneous attention. Multitasking is just task hopping, and the cost is depth, quality, and peace of mind. If you want to regain control, the first step is to drop the myth. Do one thing, finish it. Then move on. Because doing one thing with full attention beats doing 5 things with half a brain every single time. It was 1 a.m. I was lying in bed, scrolling mindlessly through TikTok, eating shredded cheese straight from the bag like some sort of existentially confused raccoon. And that's when it hit me. Not the cheese, though that didn't help, but the quiet, piercing realization, is this who I am now? Distracted, anxious, avoiding everything that matters by filling the silence with cheap dopamine and melted cheddar. It wasn't dramatic. There was no cinematic music or life coach whispering wisdom in the background. Just me, my phone screen, and a flicker of discomfort strong enough to snap me out of autopilot. A moment of self-recognition, equal parts sad and oddly hopeful. Because here's the thing, change doesn't begin with motivation. It starts with honesty. The moment you stop lying to yourself about how busy you are, the moment you admit that your best self hasn't been showing up lately, the moment you whisper, something has to give. That's when things begin to shift. I wasn't broken. I wasn't lazy. I was just giving my most distracted self to my most important goals, and that felt criminal. So, I made a quiet decision. I wouldn't chase perfection. I'd train focus, slowly, deliberately, like an athlete in recovery. Like someone with something to prove, but only to themselves. And that, honestly, changed everything. Here's what no one tells you. Focus isn't some mysterious trait gifted to the chosen few. It's not part of your personality. It's not in your DNA. It's a skill, a tough, gritty, and often frustrating skill that you either train or lose. Most people walk through life thinking they're just not good at focusing. But it's not that they can't focus, it's that their focus has never been trained. And like any muscle, if you don't use it deliberately, it weakens. Meanwhile, the world is doing press-ups on your attention span 24/7. If you don't train your focus, the world will train your distraction. Your phone, your apps, your algorithm. All of it is pulling you into shallow thinking, fragmenting your attention into 1,000 shiny pieces. But here's the good news. If distraction can be learned, so can discipline. Focus can be built, layer by layer, through consistent effort. It starts with boundaries, turning off notifications, creating focus windows, building rituals that make deep work feel automatic. It's not glamorous, but it works. Over time, you stop relying on fleeting motivation and start depending on trained clarity. You become the kind of person who can sit, breathe, and dive deep, even when the world is screaming for your attention. And in a society wired for noise, that ability isn't just rare, it's powerful. Everyone loves a good productivity hack. The promise of some quick, clever trick that'll fix years of distraction in 5 minutes. But let's be honest, hacks are often just novelty dressed up as strategy. They might make you feel productive, but they rarely lead to real change. The truth? Sustainable focus isn't built on shortcuts, it's built on structure. Start with your environment. Don't just rely on self-control, design your space so you don't need it. Turn off notifications. Hide your phone, remove the temptations before they can start whispering. If your brain's a toddler with a flamethrower, don't leave matches on the table. Next, shrink your goals. Seriously, make them laughably small. Don't aim to write a novel, aim to open the document and write a terrible sentence. It's not about ambition, it's about momentum. And once you've started, you're far more likely to keep going. Then, guard your energy like it's rare currency. Say no to things that don't serve your focus. Turn on Do Not Disturb. Cancel calls that don't matter. You're not being rude, you're being intentional. And finally, stop wearing burnout like a badge. Being exhausted doesn't make you noble. It makes you ineffective. Rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement for sustained clarity. This isn't flashy, it's not viral, but it's real. And if you're serious about regaining control of your mind, this is where it begins. In a world engineered for interruption, choosing to focus is almost an act of defiance. Every app on your phone, every platform you scroll, every advert you glance at, it's all been carefully designed to steal your attention. Not maliciously, but deliberately. Because your attention is currency. And if you're not actively choosing where it goes, someone else will gladly choose for you. That's why focus isn't just a personal productivity tool. It's rebellion. It's saying, no, I won't let my mind be hijacked today. Most people aren't lazy, they're overwhelmed. Not by tasks, but by noise. A constant hum of digital clutter and dopamine loops that keep their brains spinning but disconnected. They're not choosing distraction, they're drowning in it. But you don't have to. When you decide to sit down, close all the tabs, silence the phone, and pour your full attention into just one meaningful thing, you're reclaiming your mind. You're saying, this moment belongs to me. That kind of clarity, it's powerful and rare. Because while most people are scrolling, skimming, and chasing surface-level stimulation, you're choosing depth. You're building something stronger than motivation. You're building trust in yourself. And once you experience that kind of focus, even just once, you'll never want to go back to the noise. There's a strange kind of paralysis that hits when we stare too long at the things we haven't done. A to-do list that feels like it's judging us. An unfinished task quietly rotting in the corner of our minds. And the longer we avoid it, the heavier it becomes. But here's the truth most of us forget. Action is a spellbreaker. Not grand, heroic, world-shifting action. Just small, immediate movement. Open the tab, reply to the email. Write one messy sentence. Fold one shirt. Drink one glass of water. That's it. That's how momentum is born. Not through motivation, but through motion. It's not that people are unproductive because they don't care. Often, it's because they build things up so much in their heads that even starting feels impossible. The task becomes mythologized, intimidating. But when you finally touch it, when you simply begin, something shifts. The fear shrinks. The fog clears. The resistance loses its power. The key? Don't aim to finish, aim to begin. Because beginning is where all the real magic hides. So the next time your brain tempts you with cleaning the loft or watching obscure documentaries instead of doing the thing, whisper to yourself, "Not today, clown," and start. Because one small step isn't just progress, it's proof. Proof that you can show up. Proof that you're back in the driver's seat. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything. We all love a big dream. The vision board. The life-changing goal. The someday version of us that's productive, focused, and living with purpose. But here's the brutal truth. Dreams don't work unless your Tuesdays at 3 p.m. do. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. It's easy to get swept up in ambition. To feel fired up after watching a motivational video and declare, "That's it, I'm changing everything." But real change doesn't happen in declarations. It happens in structure. It happens in the quiet, boring, consistent systems that support who you want to become. Want to write a book? Don't focus on the bestseller list. Focus on writing 200 words every morning before breakfast. Want to get fit? Don't obsess over the six-pack. Focus on putting your trainers by the door and showing up to your workouts, even when you don't feel like it. Systems aren't sexy, but they're sustainable. They make success feel like a natural outcome, not a forced effort. And over time, systems compound. They turn chaos into rhythm, and good intentions into results. So yes, dream big. But then build something small and sturdy to carry that dream forward. Because it's not your vision that changes your life, it's your routine. And the sooner you build a system that works on your worst day, the sooner your best days will take care of themselves. Motivation is great when it shows up. But here's the reality. Motivation is a mood, and moods are unreliable. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll spend most of your life waiting. What actually changes things? Mastery. Mastery is showing up when no one's watching. It's doing the thing, not because it's exciting, but because it's yours to do. It's training your focus like an athlete, day after day, especially on the days when your brain would rather scroll through trivia or clean the cutlery drawer for no reason. This isn't about becoming robotic or rigid. It's about becoming trustworthy to yourself. Think about how powerful it is to know that when you say, "I'll get it done," you actually will. That kind of internal trust is what builds confidence, not pep talks, not new apps, just follow through. You don't need to become a productivity guru. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You just need one core habit. Finish what you start, even if it's messy, even if it's small. Because the version of you who's focused, clear-headed, and intentional, they don't arrive overnight. They're built, slowly, quietly, through dozens of choices that no one claps for. But that's the beauty of mastery. It doesn't shout, it doesn't perform, it simply shows up over and over again. And eventually, so will your results. Let's be honest, you don't need another guru telling you to hustle harder or wake up at 4 a.m. What you need is something far more powerful: ownership of your attention. Because in a world that thrives on distraction, staying focused isn't just productive, it's rebellious. Training your focus isn't about turning yourself into a machine. It's about proving every single day that you can show up for yourself. That you can say "not today" to the noise, to the endless pings, to the scroll hole you know ends in regret. The trick isn't intensity, it's consistency. You don't need to do 12 hours of deep work. You need 20 focused minutes regularly. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You need to take one small, clear step every day and protect that step like it's sacred. Because over time, those tiny, deliberate moments add up. They become proof. Proof that you're not just reacting to life, you're shaping it. Proof that you're not at the mercy of every whim, impulse, or notification. And here's the secret no one tells you. Once you train your focus, people will notice. They'll ask what your secret is, and you'll smile, knowing it wasn't magic. It was just you, deciding to take your mind seriously, one quiet, focused day at a time. Most of us don't struggle because we lack desire. We struggle because we say yes to too many things that don't matter. The world is full of decent opportunities, tempting distractions, and polite obligations. But if everything gets a yes, the things that truly matter get drowned in the noise. That's why the real power lies in learning to say no, clearly, confidently, and without apology. It's not about being cold or selfish, it's about being intentional. Think about how many times you've said yes to something out of guilt or politeness, only to feel resentment later. We do it because we're taught that saying no closes doors. But in reality, saying no is what protects the doors that lead to what actually matters. Every yes is an investment of your energy, your time, and your attention, all of which are finite. Here's a simple rule to live by. If it's not a clear, instinctive yes, then it's a respectful no. Not maybe later, not I'll think about it, but a gentle, firm no that leaves room for the right things to enter. When you honor that filter, life becomes clearer. You're not stretched thin, you're focused, you're not chasing, you're choosing. The truth is, most of what pulls at your attention isn't urgent, it's just loud. And the more you practice filtering those things out, the more energy you'll have to give to the people, projects, and priorities that deserve the very best of you. And that is where the real ease begins.